Have you heard of corn relish? It was one of my grandma's favorites to make, and it has become a family favorite. And I think you're gonna see why. A sweet, sour, sweet corn with some peppers into a relish form, and we're gonna can it, and you're gonna love it. Let's make it. Corn relish is something that you maybe haven't heard of, but whether it's my Mennonite heritage or just growing up in the Midwest, this was something we made a lot, and it's pretty simple. It is a relish in the sense that it has some cabbage with it too, which, when you're going to can, it looks like a lot of ingredients. It looks like large amounts of things, but once you're actually going to the mess of doing it, you might as well go for it and just do like 7 pint, 8 pint, whatever a recipe is. So what I'm doing to start is getting my cabbage shredded. So I use an old cabbage cutter, cabbage shredder. Some people call this a kraut cutter because it cuts it in the form of what you would use in sauerkraut, but it just to me is a really quick way. This is how I do my slaw too, if I'm gonna make just slaw for dinner or whatever it is. In here I have my corn. So this corn was cooked. I cooked it yesterday. I chilled it and then I cut it off the cob into nice pieces. Now, as it stirs and cooks, it will break down even more. This is also how I would cook and freeze my corn to preserve it, that we do as a family. But if you don't want to do this or go to the work of that, you could use frozen corn too. You could purchase frozen corn kernels, use them in place of this, and move on with the recipe. So we're gonna put our cabbage right into here. We're just at first gonna put everything together. And that's just pretty much, that's what to me canning can be easy about. It looks like a mountain of work, but when you go to break it down and you actually do each step, it isn't that much work. It just takes a little bit of time to assemble. And so that's what to me, I always want canning to come across as for people is, it's not necessarily a lot of work, it takes some time. So that's why, growing up, we always did these things as a family. We would do them with all the grandparents and everyone around. So what I now wanna do is get all the vegetables ready. So I try to think of things that will always make it quicker. Growing up, we would a lot of times use those countertop grinders that you would attach to a counter. Then we transitioned to a food processor as those became readily available, because instead of chopping everything into small pieces that are the same size, what we're gonna do is make sure it gets chopped the same size in a food processor. So for the red pepper, I'm just gonna cut it into big pieces, but I wanna take out any of that pith that's in the inside, just because that's not really the seeds too. Bell pepper, we don't want there is no heat with it, but you just don't want the seeds in with it. Now I am gonna save the tops. I want those. And I'm going to make sure that on my green pepper, I have about the same amount, which is why since I'm growing these in the garden, they don't always look the same, do they? They can be different sizes, so it takes a little bit more. So of the green pepper, you can see I have 2, only because they're smaller peppers than the other ones. So I'm gonna chop them all up, put them in here, and then we'll just grind them up. I have the last bits of onion now in there, so we have the red pepper, green pepper, onion, and now I just pulse it. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you could use a food grinder, like I was talking about. You could also just hand chop it. You can do that. I just try to go as quick as I can. I'm gonna pulse it until it's just all evenly chopped up. So once it's all done, you can see it pretty evenly chops it. To me, when Mom and I started doing this, we were like, okay, this is much better. So this is what we do for salsa or anything. Now we're gonna put all that on there. So this is kind of that big flavor impact. We're gonna have the onion and the pepper, which they're just sweet peppers. This isn't a spicy relish. And you might be asking like, Caleb, what do you do with this? Like when you make it, this is interesting, what do you do? This to me is delicious, almost. Don't hate this, almost as a side salad or on top of just a relish. So you could put it on broths, on burgers. It's just really good. I love it on anything like a taco salad too. It's bright, it's delicious. So now to this, we wanna think of everything else we wanna add. I wanna get my pan clean so it's not quite so gross. And then we're gonna add just a few spices and some flavorings here. So a little bit of mustard powder. You don't knock it, but the one thing you do wanna do when you get your spices out is make sure to take that off. Sometimes I think these are more of a curse than they are helpful. So what we wanna do is make sure we get a lot of mustard powder in here. And mustard, don't be scared. This isn't like that strong astringent mustard. This is the mustard powder that is honestly kind of more subtle. It has kind of a nice earthiness to it, and it just blends really well with all this. We're also gonna put in turmeric. This colors it beautifully, but just like in pickles, turmeric adds that wonderful hint of flavor that when it's mixed with everything else we're doing here, like with all the vinegar, with all the peppers and onions, it's not near as strong as we think, but it does round out the flavors. It enhances the sweetness, adds more of an earthiness. I love it, I really do. We wanna, of course, add salt. Salt is super important. Salt is what will actually bring out all the flavors, season everything correctly, and it's needed. Now, the thing is, When we used to make this, we added copious amounts of sugar. I don't do that anymore. I actually add about half the sugar, and then once it's cooking, I will taste it, and I think you can then adjust it somewhat for your liking. Sweet corn is sweet. So I know sometimes people think, oh, Caleb, your recipes, they could be sweeter. I'm used to sweeter pickles or whatever it is. Make it sweeter. The important part here is the vinegar. We're gonna add a high amount of vinegar. That's what's gonna make this, to me, a really foolproof canning concoction, because when you have high vinegar, it's a very safe canning medium. So what we're gonna do at this point, and you're gonna think, well, where's all the liquid? The cabbage cooks down, the corn cooks down, all that liquid is released. So we're gonna take this over to the stove, we're gonna bring it up to a simmer over medium heat, and we're gonna cook it for a while. And during that cooking process, everything is gonna mix together, the flavors are gonna mix together, but more importantly, that cabbage is gonna become non-existent, and all these flavors will become one. So this has been simmering, and I just want to let it simmer for a while, because what's happening is that cabbage is really going to break down. It's going to soften the vegetables. Everything's going to cook together. All the flavors are going to cook together. So you want to let it simmer for a while, and that's why we want to make sure it comes up to a good simmer, rolling throughout, even into the middle, and then we just cover it slightly, stir it every so often, and keep it simmering. So this has been cooking long enough that everything is softened. It looks how it always looks when I was at my grandma's, which is food is memories. Food memories, and to me, canning is what really brings that out. We always can together as a family, and I remember making this specifically with my grandma the last few years of her life, so I knew how to make it because I wanted to be able to make it forever and have that same moment. So what I have here is a little bit of water and some clear gel. Now, when you're canning, the USDA recommends to only thicken something with clear gel. So that's why I'm doing that, because clear gel does not break down at the temperatures we can at. It is something safe that allows no air bubbles. I try to follow whatever is correct, and I always check with the USDA canning guide online. You can too if you question anything that you're canning. So don't just always assume an old recipe since it's always been made is correct. You want to actually double check, because there's no reason to go to all this work to have something unsafe that would really make someone sick. So what I have here is a slurry with clear gel, and what that's gonna do is just tighten this up ever so slightly. Not so much that it's like a jam or something, just enough, because you can see here we have the liquid in here, which we want. You need to have liquid when you can. But what I'm gonna do is slowly pour this in, be stirring it into it, but you can see I'm doing this off heat. That's important too, because if you just do it on heat, sometimes it can clump up in one spot and you don't wanna do that. So I wanna stir that in really well, and already you can tell it's not thickening it way too much, but we want to bring it back to a simmer to make sure that's all activated throughout. So I first want to stir that in really well, and now just take this right over to the stove, put it back on so it becomes a simmer, let it simmer for a couple minutes just to make sure it's heated throughout, and then it'll be ready to can. So after that slurry was added, I just stirred it and cooked it for a couple minutes to make sure it was activated all the way through. You can see it just tightens it up ever so slightly. That to me is like perfect. You know, all these things that we make, we find uses for because we love them. So to me, this is something I always will have in my fridge and use in a lot of different ways. It has a nice kind of sweet sour kick to it. It's a relish, and yet almost like a salad. So what I'm gonna start doing is ladling it into cleaned jars, which means they're sterilized and they're ready to go. And we're gonna just put it right in. And the important part when you're filling a jar is what we call headspace. So you wanna have the right amount of headspace at the top, which is gonna be a ½ inch for this. And I gauge that, kind of different ways. So sometimes you overfill. Don't worry about overfilling. You can take it out, and that's why we have a funnel to help us. And you can always take it out after you fill it too. You just have a funnel to kind of keep the sides somewhat clean, because you wanna have a clean jar when you're done. So I'm gonna take this out. There it is, that's perfect. And we're gonna move on. So you can see this process now is pretty much just go and get done, and then we'll just water bath them. So now that they're all getting full, I just go around and I adjust as I'm getting them ready. You wanna make sure that juice, do you see how the juice collects right on top? You want something to be covered by the juice, so that's why I make sure the juice is right up there. Then I take a clean, just kind of a paper towel, dip it in hot water, and I wipe off the tops. You don't want any contaminants up there. And before you even do this, I reuse my jars and my rings every year. So you wanna make sure there's no nicks or cracks in the jar, especially around the rim, because then it could burst in the canner. I've had it happen. We've all had it happen if we've canned. It's a mess. It happens. But what also you're gonna notice is you put on, just follow the box instructions for the lids, but then your rings, I reuse these every year. So So they'll get a little bit of rusty after a while, and if they're too rusty, you don't want to use them, but reuse them. This is the whole point of canning, is to reuse. Jars, rings, whatever you can. So on the last one here, I'm just gonna wipe it off. I personally think this is the best part of canning, is to see how it looks in the jar. I think it's pretty. You tighten it. I always say, this is a hard thing to say, but to fingertip tightness. Now, I'm the type that I can over-tighten it, and if you over-tighten it, it buckles when it cans. I just have a little bit more strength than someone like my grandma would of her mom. So you wanna do it until you could tighten it slightly more, but it would really strain you. So don't go that much, just to that point. Once it's all done, I like to do these on a rack, fitted with on a baking sheet, because then I can move them over to the oven. You can go one by one, do whatever you're comfortable with, but I have my water bath ready to go, which means I have a large kettle of water, heavy bottom, and I have a rack in the bottom of this kettle. You need a rack in it. You need to have the jars lifted from the bottom of the kettle, or they could burst, the glass to the heat. So what I'm gonna do now is put in one by one with a jar lifter. That's to make sure we're safe and that we're not doing something that's gonna burn us. And then, once they're all in, we wanna make sure the water level is above the jars. You want it to be above the jars. Now, there are different types of canners. There are steam canners out there. There are things like that. You do what you're comfortable with. I use a water bath canner like this. Certain things you need to use a pressure canner for, but it depends what you're canning. Things with a high ratio of vinegar, you can water bath, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna make sure these all fit in here, and I know they do. And then we're gonna let it come back to a boil before we time it. This is boiled now, so I'm taking them out. Now, always check with the USDA canning guide if you have altitude that is different, that you have to adjust for that. So as I'm taking them out, I hear what we call music to a canner's ears, and that's the little pop where most of them are sealed already. I heard it just as I was stopping it. That's the best sound, because that means once they have a good seal, your work is done. But at this point, once you take, oh, did you hear that? There's just a little ping. When you take them all out, you don't want to touch them really. You don't want to take the rings off or anything for 24 hours. Now that's because you want them to fully cool down. You want that seal to really set, and so we leave it. Now, the one question I often get is, wait, why do you remove the rings? Because you see pictures of them not being removed. So why do we ever remove them? The rings you want to keep on while they're in there and for 24 hours. But after that, you want to make sure to take them off so that you know that there isn't a false seal. Sometimes keeping these rings on, you don't know it, but it's maybe just keeping the actual lid on there, but it shouldn't. So that's why you always want to make sure you take it off, remove it, and you don't have a false seal after 24 hours. Then you can store them in a pantry, wherever you want, and it will be ready to go whenever you want it, all through the winter months. I think this is one of those things you're gonna find ways to use it, but you can see here with some of the leftover I had. Now I probably could have done another jar, but I wanted to show you what it's like. And remember, when you're canning, when it comes to jars, you may get a little bit more, a little bit less, just because the way we measure sometimes, some of us are a little bit more of a gospel measure where we over measure, and some of us go a little under. So you can adjust for that, and you'll always have an extra jar or two ready to go in case. But here it is. I think it's beautiful. But imagine this as a topping on maybe your favorite sandwiches. Use it as a dip. Use it as a salad. That's exactly how I remember. What I like is it has a sweet, tangy balance. The sweet corn obviously is sweet. The cabbage almost becomes non-existent within it, so you don't really know it's there. It's just as a filler. The red pepper, to me, makes it beautiful. Adds a little bit of flavor, but really what comes through is this unique, wonderful, almost pickle-like relish flavor. And to me, that's what you can't go wrong with, and that's what you're really gonna fall in love with. So, from grandma's table practically, to your house, to my house, that's what's fun about this, is canning can be passed down for generations and be enjoyed. So as always, what do I hope you do with this? I hope you share this video around, because of course it helps me, but it helps everyone else see canning is not scary. It takes some time, it has some steps, but it's doable. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So try it out, share the video, have some people over and have a canning party. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Until next time, use something in season and make something with it. Really happy.